Testing, testing. Hello, Tim. Hello, how are you?
Hello, hello. How are you?
Good, good. Hello. Every time I tell you it's actually a mess.
Oh, hang on. You sound like you're speaking Chinese. Something's weird happening.
Okay. Maybe it's my microphone. Let me take it out of this and go to.
Okay, is that any better?
Oh, there we go.
It's this microphone. They tell you to buy microphones to make your sound better, but you're not the first one that's had a problem with that.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Oh, I love it.
Hey, whenever I call you, I'm never sure if I should be calling you Kimberly or Kim.
Oh, well, I married an Irish guy named Kelly. And so when we got married and we would meet people and then we would see them the second time, they didn't know which one was Kim and which one was Kelly. So I went back to my given name of Kimberly. I answered to all of them. I answered to Kelly. Weirdo things happen and I get called Terry. And I'm like, that's not even close. So I'll answer to whatever.
Yeah. So my wife is Kim, Kimberly. Her middle name is, I bet yours is your middle name Ann by chance?
With an E.
Yeah. You're the third one in the last month that's Kimberly Ann. My wife is too. So Hailey, our youngest daughter, is Hailey Ann with no E. We decided to change that a little bit, but Kimberly Ann, there's so many Kimberly Anns out there.
I know.
Whenever yeah, when I always she goes by Kimmy and everyone calls her Kimmy in our family, but it's kind of like my name, Bob. My real name's Robert, but I always tell people the only time people use that is when I'm in trouble
When you're in trouble.
or they don't know me. Or they don't know me. And they're going, that's how I can always tell it's a salesman calling me that's got my name from like NAR or whatever. Is this Robert? I'm like, no.
It's awesome. Yeah, no one calls me Kimberly Ann unless I'm in trouble. But I get called Kim, Kimmy, Kimbo, Kimber, Kimberly. And then it's amazing how many ways people try to spell Kimberly.
Yeah. All right. So we'll jump in and start here in a minute. Obviously, all this stuff we're talking about, my folks will cut all this off at the beginning. I just always record to start, because if not, I'll get 20 minutes in and go, shit. I forgot.
Forget. Yep. Welcome to my world. My landscapers are here, and so they're blowing. So let me look and see. We're very close to them being done.
That is always how it goes. The
They
landscape.
usually come on Thursday, and so they're here today. And I was like, wait, I don't understand.
Today is Thursday.
Oh, it is?
Silly girl.
I still think it's
Okay, I'm keeping that one in the video.
well, at least I'm not like mad at them. I kept my mouth shut.
But I mean, timing wise, they can come every week at my house at 9 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. But the day that I do some kind of webinar or whatever, they come right when I'm starting the thing.
Spot on every time.
Today, what I've got is our next door neighbor. I'm in the second story of our house in my office, looking down at my neighbor's house, and they're redoing their pool today. So I've got a backyard full of a crew of Mexican dudes listening to the papa, papa, that music, and Jack.
I feel like we should do dances.
Yeah, exactly. and the jackhammer's going. So
well, I can't hear any of that.
Good. Hopefully they'll quit here in a minute. But mainly what the main thing I want to get across, obviously, I've been thinking about this since I talked to you this morning, is let's just stick to the plan of you doing all the ways to make money with Reel and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to at some point get into why I joined Reel and what I've seen so far. I think that's important, what you said earlier. And I think that will probably kind of organically come out in the conversation. So I don't want to set this up to where like we have to do this and then that.
Okay.
Just let it flow. And I'm sure there's going to be parts of your presentation where I stop you and I go, that's one thing that caught my eye. Okay. When that made me
that's good.
Want to come, and then I can kind of run with that for a little bit and then jump back into your things. But the main thing I wanted to get across today is the culture part of things. And I've been sitting here.
I'll be able to integrate that because I talk about how our model is actually based intentionally built to create collaborative opportunities. Like it's baked into our model because when we talk about like how we earn elite agent and how we earn culture award, that is with the purpose of people contributing to help other agents grow. Hang on, maybe she'll be all right. I was making soup earlier, and so my dog thinks there's still chicken on the counter, and she's crying. And so if that happens, I'm gonna lock her away.
Well, don't even worry. I don't even care if my dogs will come walking in and out of here. To me, that's part of the whole deal.
You might see me lose my mind though. My head will spin and things like that.
I hear you. But one thing I was sitting here trying to think of, what was the one moment, if there was like one moment where I thought Reel was the right place for me. And this is going to sound weird to you, but
Doubt it.
Before I decided to come on, I'd talked to you, and then I went really deep into YouTube watching some videos that Reel had produced. And somehow I got on the Rise convention in 2023. And that was the one where it was like October 10th or something like that. Tamir had just left his family in Israel, and the October 7th thing happened. And I watched him and got goosebumps and tears welled up in my eyes going, this guy is dedicated. He just left his country and his family to meet with these people that work for him in his company. I mean, it was that important to him to come and speak to him. And I thought, that guy is a leader. that,
Well, it's interesting you say that, because here's another perspective from helping them plan and be part of, Rise 22, which was our first one. I did more on that one. I didn't do very much on 23, I guess. But in just the talks, like, we kind of didn't expect him to come, and
right?
had given him permission, please don't come. Like, everyone at our company will have the heart and understand. You could meet with us via Zoom. We can do it on the screen. And he was so adamant of, these are my people. Like,
Mhm.
I can't abandon. And it's not their fault that this is what's happening in the world. And it was really touching. And were you there for the last day of Rise?
Yes.
So you got to see his, lion talk at the end. And I mean, that's genuinely who he is. Like, I met him in October of 2020. And I got off the phone with him, off a Zoom call with him. And I told my husband, I go, this guy's different.
Yeah.
Like, I've spent a lot of my career, actually multiple careers, in rooms with the CEOs and founders of companies. I've been really privileged to just kind of bopple along and land in some of those rooms. And he does not look like the others on any level. He has a level of intellect and intuition and creativity that is paired with a genuine humility of, like, gosh, I can't believe people are going to follow my dream. Like, no one's more surprised than Tamir, versus the ego of course I'm amazing. Why wouldn't you follow me? You're an idiot if you don't. And
Right.
I've sat in both of those rooms, and the number of people in the Tamir room versus the other room is so small. And now I'm 4 years later in my relationship with him. And I don't know if I told you this, but I went to New York this past spring when we did the ringing of the bell for NASDAQ again. And honestly, we were coming down the hall from opposite directions at NASDAQ, and we both got super teary just to see each other. We hugged and we go, I can't cry now. And we turned around and we both walked away, because we're like, we can't cry right now. And then later in the afternoon, after everything had happened, we just had a really sweet moment together where we were both super teary. Like, we've come a long way. And I came to Real when there were less than 1,000 agents. I think there were about 600 agents. And so I just was like, gosh, now we're over 22,000. I've seen all this growth. I've fortunately and gratefully been part of that. Right. And he is yet the same guy, except he knows more now. Right. So he knows more about our industry. He knows more about the agent. He knows more about what the agent's needs are. That's a lot more. He's a lot more in tune with that. And that has been this really great rudder that has kind of, I don't know that it's redirected the ship, but it's definitely helped set the course, because he really, really gets it. And I think, before building the level with the number of agents we've come in, I think he had an idea of what it was. And I think as an investor, he knew, like, he's no dummy, right? He's definitely been exposed to the industry, but he's learned the industry on a different level. And the beauty of that is that he's been so teachable, right? Recognizing, geez, I have this real estate company and there's a sector of it that I don't fully understand. I need to understand that. And man, he has jumped in hook, line, sinker, both feet, face forward, and just gone for it, and been this great sponge to absorb things that people have said, hey, have you thought about this? Did you know this? Were you aware of this? And he's, like I said, he's no dummy. He's incredibly intelligent, but also incredibly teachable. And those don't always come hand in hand. And that's actually what made the difference for me when I came to Real, is I was vetting them. I came from what I would calculate as from a pioneer place, but very dysfunctional. And so I was really scathed and really skeptical, right? Just like, oh, here's another one of these CEO guys with his executive leadership team, oh my word, I'm so excited for this. And man, I just hammered them with questions over and over, and they were so gracious to me and continued to answer. And I can look back, Bob, and I can say, gosh, I've known him now for 4 years, and the stuff that we talked about 4 years ago, I've watched come to fruition. I've watched him hone it and perfect it. And I've watched that everything. Here's what I've learned. The bottom line for me is, if it's good for the company and it's good for the agent, we're going to do it. If it's good for the company and the agent is unaffected, we're not doing it. If it's good for the company and the agent is adversely affected, we're not doing it. And that to me is someone who has that pulse, that heartbeat of, okay, I really am in this. You people actually matter. So when Tamir talks, you know it's genuine, you know it's well thought out, and you know it comes directly from his heart, and you can count on it. And I think, trust is built in drops and lost in buckets, is how, my grandma used to say that to me. And for 4 years, Tamir has been dripping in drops, and I've never had a bucket moment with him, and I've never witnessed a bucket moment with him. And I have massive admiration for him and respect for him, and a lot of gratitude, because this culture that we're building is so different from frankly, it's different from every other industry, but it's ridiculously different from everybody in our industry. We don't have an industry leader that is actually innovative and has more than one good idea and says, I actually care about the agents. And his viewpoint is very clear. Listen, if it's not good for the agent, we're not doing it. And he doesn't want to be the biggest real estate brokerage. He wants to be the best. And frankly, by virtue of being the best, the size of us will be the byproduct, because people will be attracted to that. And then what happens, because of the culture, the people who are super attracted to what we're building and growing protect it. So we become the gate guardians, right? We don't want people here who don't produce and don't want to produce. We don't want people here who are all about join with me and I'll give you the world, and then they give you nothing, right? We don't want this sales pitch. We actually want to build a company based on relationship. You and I are in relationship via, social media and our connections there, and then through real people, right, that we both know. And now we have this relationship. And that was part of, like, you coming to the company was, hey, yeah, we're all people. We want to build something great together, and we want to do it in a place where I don't have to slit your throat so that I can win.
Right. Exactly. No, I mean, and what you just said there is going to be perfect for, those are my people. Those are the people I coach, that I mentor, that I enjoy being around, are the people that are looking for that. What I think we'll do is I'll just start off by, I think maybe it's best to, obviously introduce you and stuff, but I think it might be best for me to start off by just saying something really quick, like, how Real got my attention and what made me come over, and then have you explain. I'll basically say, I try to explain this stuff and I just fall myself. So I brought the expert on to do it. And then just kind of let it go and just have a conversation while we're doing it about this.
Well, I think that's great. And I think to help you build credibility for this conversation, I am the one who started Real in Arizona. So I am agent number 1, right? I started with just my reputation in hopes that I, had people that would follow, but that, I think when people recognize that I'm like the point of origin, or I'm the resource for them, it quiets some of the noise that they're getting from other places that just sounds like fireworks going off, versus, hey, here's the actual meat and potatoes of this. And so if that helps you, feel free to use that piece to help build that credibility for why they should watch your video and why they should want to be connected with us.
Yeah. So that was the other thing I was what do you have, like a title, Kim, for Arizona? Or
I have 2 titles, which is weird. I'm not an employee. I'm an agent just like you are, but I have a title of the Arizona Growth Leader. There
Okay.
are only, I think, 5 growth leaders in the nation. And
Okay.
so I'm one of them.
Perfect.
And then I have a national title of National Growth Ambassador. So that means that I help other people in other states.
Got it.
And
Okay.
those are both not titles I gave myself, just FYI. Those are titles that came from the company.
Yeah. No, I hear.
And then
Okay.
I'm the queen of all creation. I mean, what
Yeah,
other titles
exactly.
do you want?
I just said, I don't know what the hell they call this gal, but all I know is if you've got a question about real, this is who you need to talk to. That's how I
That,
explain it.
that'll work. I appreciate it. That's
All
funny.
right, cool. So let's jump in here and we'll just let it go until whenever we finish. And if we have to, I can have my folks chop it up a little bit, but I'm not worried about how long or how short we go. I just want this to be something that I can hold on to and just say, you know what, let me just send you this video and you'll learn.
Okay.
And I think it'll help because these are people that I'll probably already know,
Yeah.
that we know me, trust me, like me, and they'll like the questions or the things that I say and so forth.
Yeah.
So
it takes about, if I go at my regular pace, which is pretty quick, it takes about 40 minutes to
okay,
get through all of this, just so that you kind of have that kind of bookend it
perfect.
for your
Perfect.
purposes.
So yeah, I
Okay.
think, between us bullshitting back and forth and everything else, it'll probably be close to an hour, which is great.
We can do it.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's start in 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, it's Bob. I'm here today with the Arizona Growth Leader and National Growth Ambassador for Real Broker. I know that's a lot of titles, but she deserves more than that. Those 2 titles for sure. Whenever anyone asks me about Real and how it works, I just say, just call Kim. She's amazing. So I wanted to bring Kim on today. Kimberly Ryan. I'm sorry, I didn't say your last name, Kim. Because I'm starting to get, a few questions or even surprise people are surprised, like, man, I thought you were still with XYZ brokerage, which I'm not going to name them. That's not how I play. But I thought you were still with them. What are you doing with Real? How's it going? Obviously I'm getting people calling saying, hey, you've been there a few months. What do you think? So, I try to explain how Real works. Okay. And when I try, I just screw it all up. So I wanted to do a video with Kimberly today to mainly focus on how many different ways to earn income is it up to now?
We're up to 12 wealth building benefits of Real.
Perfect. 12 wealth building benefits. See, I can't even get that verbiage right when I'm talking to you. So she's going to focus on that today, but what you'll find is when we're talking, you'll get a better idea of why I made the move and what I've seen so far. That was the other part, was to kind of give everyone an update of what's going on. Before we get rolling here and before Kim introduces herself and all that, I wanted to share, the number one question that I get asked is, what the heck made you leave what you had? And for those of you that don't know, I had a pretty sweet deal. I mean, I was paying a couple $100 per transaction and really no other fees, and was doing that for about 7 years. And there was a couple things that had happened recently that I felt like, maybe I should go explore some other options. And I've kept my pulse on various brokerages over the years. This is my 25th year in the business. And so I know a lot of people, a lot of leaders in our community, a lot of brokers, and a lot of different business models, obviously. And I think the number one thing was value for me. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time, especially with all this commission lawsuit crap that's been going on and everything else. And I just found out that it's not just about how much you're paying per transaction, it's what value are you getting out of it. And one of the biggest things that we get sucked into as real estate agents in our industry, we look for the cheapest way to do business, which it doesn't always end up being the quote unquote cheapest way. There's opportunity costs out there. There's a lot of value that we're leaving on the table by joining brokerages that just have a quote unquote 100% flat fee, whatever you want to call it. When I looked at Real, obviously one of the first people I talked to was my sponsor, who happens to be Will Carter, who's been there for a while. Everyone knows Will. And he's just said the same thing that I'm going to tell all of you, just talk to Kimberly. But I talked to Kim, we went and had a great lunch together, and then definitely piqued my interest. It just felt different. It felt like I could join something that I could be a part of, and not just be a part of it, but be an owner in it, which was really cool. And the phrase that they use, the catchphrase, work hard, be kind, just resonated with me. That's how I've lived my whole life. That's how it's what I've taught my daughters growing up. Okay, what I've taught my kids, everyone I know, work hard and be kind. I mean, it's just awesome. Well, yeah, we all hear the little catchphrases that everyone has, but once I dove in and started really digging into this thing and watching a lot of videos of the owners, Tamir and Sharon, on video, I was like, holy crap, these guys are onto something here. And there was one moment that did it for me, and I'll share it with you real quick. In 2000, every year Real has their big annual conference here in the United States, and they have one in Canada for their Canadian people. Real is in all 50 states, by the way, and Canada. And in 2023, they had their conference, and I watched Tamir Poleg, who is the CEO? I mean, he's the founder, right? CEO. Okay. Tamir lives in Israel, born and raised in Israel. And this conference was, I think, right around October 9th or 10th of 2023. And we all know what happened on October 7th of 2023 in Israel. And he gave one of the most riveting speeches I've ever seen a leader of a company give. And what he talked about just showed, I mean, he had left his family, left his country to fly out to the United States to speak to the agents and everyone, involved with Real at the conference. And I won't get into what he said in the speech, but let me tell you something. I had goosebumps and tears in my eyes listening to it. And the first thing, what I ended up thinking at the end was, this is the definition of a leader. And take with that all the other videos that I watched and speeches given, and the progress and the dreams and the vision that this leadership team has with this brokerage. And I thought, anyone that doesn't look at this and doesn't join it is nuts, because this brokerage is going places. And I think we're up to 22,000 agents across the nation. And does that include Canada too, Kim? Or is
yes.
that okay?
Yep. Company wide.
Yeah. And it's just growing like crazy. So I wanted Kim to come in today and talk about, what makes Real unique compared to any other brokerage. And I think the biggest thing for me, guys, is we as an industry, agents, we don't look at brokerages as like with much pride, I guess is the best way to describe it. We just look at it as a place to hang our license, and in a lot of cases where we can do it the cheapest. And the value that I've gotten in the first 3 months blows away my $12,000 cap or whatever it is. I don't even care about the cap. I don't even care about half of what Kim's going to talk about today, to be honest with you, like the revenue share.
Thanks a lot.
No, I don't mean it that way. I shouldn't have worded it that way, but the revenue share, all of that stuff is working in the background.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're joining a brokerage just because of revenue share, or just because they give you stock, like some, that's how they recruit and advertise. That's why I didn't want to join those folks in the first place. You got to join somewhere because they share the same values and the culture that you want. And I wanted Kim to come in and talk about this today, because a lot of what she talks about, I say I don't care about it, but it actually ties the culture right back into it. So I hope that makes sense, Kim. And so you don't think that it's a total waste of time.
Well, I'm starting off completely insulted, so no problem.
Exactly. All right, Kim. So introduce yourself real quick. And oh, one thing I forgot to tell you guys, Kim was the first licensed real broker agent in Arizona. So if anyone knows real, it's her. So go ahead, Kim, take it away. Let us know, give us a little background on you, and then we'll hop into this thing.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thanks for having me because this is super fun.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that my blood pumps for. So I get pretty excited. I'm going to quasi apologize up front. I'm sorry, not sorry kind of thing, because I get really excited about all the benefits. And sometimes I get ahead of myself because I'm so excited. But my name is Kimberly Ryan. I did start and open Real Broker in Arizona. I vetted our leadership for about 7 months. It took me a long time to make up my mind to whether or not I wanted to do this. I'd never done this level. I've worked on the national level and on the global level in other companies. And this was more personal because this was really about relationships in my own backyard. You know, people say you can't be a prophet in your own town. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. So I'm super grateful. We are at this recording. We have I think we're over 1,300 agents in Real. We launched in June of 2021. So this is October of 24. So in about 3.5 years, we have about 1,300-ish agents. So I'm really honored to be part of that and to be able to have started that and see how other people have taken kind of my heart dream and run with it to help us build. So certainly haven't done it by myself. But I am super grateful for that opportunity. Part of what happened when I first came to Real is everyone was so excited to tell me about all the things that would go well for me, but no one really had them organized. So after about 3 weeks of this conversation where I was thoroughly confused because you get this and you get this and you're going to do that, and if you do that, then you get this. And I was like, well, how does all this happen? I literally locked myself in my office one night and I was like, okay, if I go to Real and I close one deal, what happens to me there? What do I get for one deal? And then I basically just walked myself through my anniversary year to see what I could unlock. And what I discovered was a few things. The more I produce, the more benefits I unlock. So that was very exciting to me as a producer. There is no revenue share or anything amazing if there isn't revenue, which means if there isn't production, none of this matters anyway. So you're just joining a club if you're going to come here and not close any business. You're not actually our avatar, to be brutally honest, right? Like this culture won't benefit you if you're not trying to build your business and grow. And so that was super important to me because I don't want to be part of a dead and dying industry. I want to be part of something that's vibrant and exciting and has a future. And so really, when I figured out at the time, there were only 8 ways. There were only 8 ways to earn income at Real. Now we're up to 12. So I changed the name of the course that I teach about this. And we don't even call it the 8 ways to earn income or the many ways to earn income. We just say, hey, here's the wealth building benefits for being at Real. And part of the reason we changed that title is because the whole model for Real is really based in a couple of things. And one of them is wealth building. We know that most agents don't earn enough, and what they do earn they spend before they get it, and they absolutely don't save, right? They don't have an exit platform. They don't have a way to get out of this business. They're just going to be schlepping open house signs till they're 95, right? And so I want a different future than that, and that was really important to me, that there was a model in place that would manage that and provide that. So that was really important to me. The other thing that was really important to me was the innovation. We live in a technology age, and our world is changing in nanoseconds before our eyes. And if we don't do something in our industry, we're going to be obsolete, we're going to be immaterial, and we're not going to have a future. And I believe in this industry long before I was licensed as a real estate agent and then as a real estate broker. My husband and I were investors. We've done a lot of stuff with real estate, and it was very important to me to have a guide. And so The real estate industry, I think, is very vital. And I think one of the greatest things that I heard Tamir, who you just spoke about, talk about, one of the things that he said was, we're not trying to replace the agent, we're trying to enhance the agent through technology. And so when you really look at like everything that we have, we are supporting the agent in their ability to close business, to manage transactions, and to love on their client base. And then we're doing that because we've put this wealth building model on top of a collaborative platform. And you'll see as we kind of get through some of this today, that the whole model is, collaboration is actually baked into the model, right? So much so that the company stands behind it, puts their money behind it, and encourages our agents to produce that way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump into it. And as we go, if you have questions, Bob, stop me. If there's comments that you want to throw out, you won't ruin my rhythm. I mean, unless I'm preaching some sort of sermon, then hold on.
Well, one thing I will say, Kim, is we're going to focus on the wealth building part, and then I'm going to do another video, a separate video, with my transaction coordinator that's at Real right now, that really understands the technology part, and have her go into the tech side of things and how that's so important. So,
well, and I think that that's important because we are technically a technology company who services the real estate industry. And when we get to the end of what I'm going to share today, you're also going to discover that we're a financial institution serving the industry, right? And the culture. So anyway, I told you I get excited, I get ahead of it. So
you're good.
Let's start. All right. So
okay,
what we're going to talk about is the financial plan and program of Real. Today, I'll talk a little tiny bit at the end about some of the technology because it bleeds into what we're going to talk about today. But yeah, I would definitely suggest that you watch the video with the transaction coordinator. First of all, she's unbelievable. But second, she does a really good job of being able to display what's happening with our technology and how easy it is to use. Okay, so the financial model for Real is, first of all, we have 0 monthly fee. So people who are lost in that scope, you can just throw it right out. We don't have any kind of monthly fee. We don't have any kind of monthly fees at all. We do have a $249 join fee. And so that's a one-time fee that gets you onboarded to our company. It gets you all the tech that you need to have at your fingertips. It gets you our app. It gets you everything. Okay, so one-time fee, bam, bam, shablam, you're done. Then we have an annual fee of $750. That gets taken out of the first 3 transactions every year at $250 a pop. And the good news about that is, I say good news and bad news. The good news about that is if you only close 2 deals, you only pay two 250s. It's not our intention that you only close 2 deals, right? We want you to close and build your business. That's really how our model is going to work best for you. So you will never get just some big whole fee thrown onto your credit card. That's not how we operate. We're very clear about if it's good for the company, it also has to be good for the agent or we don't do it. And so we're very mindful of how that goes. You'll see that as I kind of open up some of the rest of these benefits. Okay. All right. So I think I've given you, the last thing I'll tell you is there is a $30 transaction fee, since I'm giving you all the fees up front. There's a $30 transaction fee per transaction. That is not per agent. That is per transaction. So if I close the transaction with Bob, and then Bob and I share that fee. If Bob has a team member who closes the deal, then Kimberly, Bob, and team member share that $130 fee. So it's not per agent, it's per transaction in-house. We divide that out. That is your E&O insurance and broker review fee. So if anybody's like, nobody talked about E&O, well, that's it. So it's super easy. Okay. All right. So let's get right to it. I'm going to go through the first one. The first wealth building benefit that we have is our commission split. I'm going to do this one first because I know that everybody says, that really matters. And I'm going to give you about 11 other reasons why it doesn't matter, but we'll start here. So it is an 85-15 split, meaning you take home 85% and the company takes 15% up to $12,000. That's your cap annually. Okay. The second thing that happens is the beginning of the fund. And this is something that we call the 5% for 10%. I think technically there's another name for it, but that's how I use it. 5%. What we say is, listen, remember I told you that I locked myself in my office to figure out what the benefits were? This was the first one. On the very first transaction, and every transaction that you do at Real up to capping, you have the ability to take your commission, 5% of your commission in company stock. When you take that in company stock, we give you a 10% bonus. Why would we do that? For a few reasons. First of all, we're a publicly traded company. We trade on the NASDAQ. REAX is our ticker symbol. And because we trade on the NASDAQ, we are regulated by the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission. Securities Exchange Commission says, hey, listen, company, when you buy your own stock, you can't just randomly buy and sell it at will, because you give off this indication of volume. Volume is a Wall Street marker, right? So I'm not going to give you Finance 101, but I will tell you that they said, listen, if you buy your own company stock, you have to hold it for a year before you can sell it. So the good news for our agents is we're like, hey, listen, if we want our agents to grow with us and to benefit from our growth and our financial benefits, then we're going to give them a bonus. So you get paid 5% in commission, of your commission in company stock. We're going to give you 10% more. It has a 1-year hold. That's not the same as a vesting cycle. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the cool part about the 1-year hold is that you can set yourself up on a monthly annual bonus. And what I mean by that is every transaction that you close, if I close a transaction in November, then my stock gets purchased in December. Then next December, I get a monthly bonus, right? I get that 5 and 10%. So you'll start to see how this becomes pretty fun. By the way, it's all working in the background. You just sign a form that says this is what happens, and you don't have to worry about it. It automatically happens for you. The next thing that I think is cool is we do something called a gift of capping shares. Let's talk about shares for a second. You're going to hear the term shares, you're going to hear RSUs, and you're going to hear stock. All the same thing. What we don't do are stock options. So I want to be really clear about that part, because stock options are where you are given the right to buy stock at a reduced price. Not that. Stock, restricted stock units, that just means we have to hold the stock. So we have a 3-year vest period. So remember, this is a 1-year hold. This is a 3-year vest period. And you know why? It's because you didn't have any contribution in this. Right. This is the company just giving you, out of the goodness of their heart, extra shares. Right now for capping, I believe it's 150 shares. 150 shares, stock price was over $6 a share today. You do the math, that's kind of fun, right? So $6.23 a share as of right now. When I joined, it was at $4 a share, and I didn't buy any of it. So you want me to make you feel really bad?
What?
Some of my stock that I bought was when I wasn't even with Real yet, and it was on the Toronto exchange at 17 cents.
Oh,
boom, boom, boom.
God, that's
now,
crazy.
Okay, I won't make you feel bad anymore. All right. Anyway, the good news is, right now it's a little over $6 at 150 shares. You hold that for 3 years. What happens is you get them granted to you. You've earned them because you hit your cap. That means that you paid enough 15% to equal $12,000 before your anniversary date. You get then a gift from Real that says, here's 150 shares. Now I have 3 years. Those are granted to you. You have a piece of software that you'll be able to look at, and you can see the status of your shares at any given time and how far away you are from them vesting. Here's the cool part. In 3 years, you get the growth of the stock, right? It gets to grow. So today it's $6 and whatever you said, $6.23. Terrific. Yep. In 3 years, let's pretend it's $12. It gets issued to you at $12, not at $6, and you're not showing a gain because you didn't own the stock until it was vested. So this is like, first of all, it's free money. So I'm down for that. My husband says I'm the girl that's going to get hit by a bus picking up a quarter. He's not wrong. So when I say that the company gives you free money, take the free money, right? Yeah. So anyway, 150 shares, you have restricted stock units. That just means you're not allowed to sell it until the vest period. At the vest period, it goes from being granted to being issued. When it's issued, you can do whatever you want to with it. You can save it for future growth. You can liquidate it, which means you can sell it and cash it in. I'm a big advocate for these things that work in the background for us. Listen, we're in the real estate industry. And so we should be looking at this saying, hey, gosh, maybe it means that I could be saving toward buying an investment property. Or if I don't own my own home, maybe this is my my down payment assistance platform and program, right? Like you can be generated from that, from this income. It's just working in the background. And so you don't have to do anything different than what you're doing already in your own brokerage. If you're a brokerage ABC, good for you. You're paying a fee to them. Terrific. You're getting nothing back for them except good service, hopefully. Terrific. You can do the same thing here and pay in your fee structure, get back a great service, and then build an exit plan. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay.
So Kim, before we move on, I know that agents are going to have the question of what does vesting mean? Does that mean you have to be with the brokerage for 3 years, or does that mean that the stock just has to sit there for 3 years?
Yeah, that's a super great question and a great clarifying question. Thank you for that. Vesting means, first of all, if you go away in less than a year on number 2,
right,
the 5% is yours. You're getting W-2 or you're getting 1099 for that 5% because that's your commission. Right. You go home with that if you go away. If you stay for the 1 year, we also give you the 10%. If you go away, we don't give you benefits for leaving us. We give you benefits for growing and building our organization, right? And being part of a contributing factor of it. Same thing is true for any shares that the company gives you. If you are in good standing, meaning you've paid all your fee structure and you're not owing and your license is in jeopardy of any sort, right? And you're still here in 3 years, then those grants go from being granted. We promise to give that to you if you meet all this criteria. And now you've met the criteria because you're in good standing and you've hit that 3-year mark. Now it gets issued. Then you can do with it what you want. Yeah.
Got it.
You have to be at the company. Yep. Yeah, we're not paying our competitors, right? No. If you go away, you lose the benefit.
That's
so
right.
Don't go away, right?
Don't go away.
All right.
Right.
So number 4 is much like number 2, except there's some good things that happen here. When you cap, oops, I'm creating my own language. When you cap, you then unlock next level. Same thing, instead of 5%, now you have the ability to take 10% of your commission and pay and receive a 20% bonus. You can do that for up to $15,000 post cap of agent contribution. When you look at this, that's about $5,000 worth of free money from real. So I'm going to risk getting hit by that bus, right? Yeah. So this is good news. Same thing, it's a 1-year hold. Right? And so you can set yourself up on that annual bonus. All of that's getting logged and tracked in the app. So you don't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, did it happen? You're going to see it in your disbursement authorization. You're going to see it as you look at your ShareWorks account. So you'll be able to find that. The other thing that happens at capping is you're no longer paying this little magic 15%.
Right.
Right? So now you've moved to a $285 transaction fee.
Yeah.
The cool part of that is what we're going to talk about right here as the 5th benefit. And the 5th benefit is hitting elite agent status. So for those of you who are interested in absolutely growing your business and creating wealth, this is where it starts to get pretty meaningful pretty fast. And the reason I say that is we are 100% a company based in production. So when people talk, you're going to hear other people talk from other companies about, oh, we get rev share. Well, let me just give you a little hint, kind of business 101. If there's no revenue to share. So we are looking for producing agents. And if you are a producing agent, you have the ability then to take advantage of each of these benefits. And so that's when it becomes meaningful. So elite agent status says, I have paid enough of these $285 fees after I capped to hit $6,000. That becomes a new cap. That's a post-cap transaction fee, right? So when you do that, there's something magic that happens. We say, congratulations, we think you're incredible. And we're going to give you $16,000 worth of company stock or RSUs, restricted stock units. Again, this is the company giving it to you. This is no joint participation like numbers 2 and 4. This is our gift to you to say thank you. Here's what happens. We give you $16,000 worth of company stock. That's on a 3-year vest. We look at this and say, okay, interesting. You have hit like our threshold of production where we know most agents aren't going to do that level of business. So here's what we want to do. We want most agents to do that level of business. What we want is for you guys who hit this elite agent status to turn around and teach in our Real Academy. When you do that, you end up with number 6, which is our Culture Award. And our Culture Award says, gosh, if you guys who hit elite will come back and teach the rest of the agents who have not hit elite yet, we're going to give you an additional $8,000 of company stock a year. What does that mean? That means you teach 1 hour a month for 12 months in Real Academy. We give you another $8,000. So if I'm doing my math for fun, I've paid in 12, I paid in 6, so that's 18. I got back 16, so now I'm only $2,000 is my cost of doing business. But then I get this other 8, bam, bam, shablam. Now I'm ahead 6 grand. So if you look at the cap, that's $24,000. You're getting double your cap back by just helping your buyers and your sellers in their transactions. You're not doing anything different.
Right. And one thing I wanted to point out there that's very important, you can't earn that $8,000 for teaching until you get to elite status. Now, some people think, well, I'm not going to get to elite status. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. They don't want a bunch of Johnny-come-latelys, people doing 3 or 4 transactions a year, teaching classes just to make $8,000. I'm going to do another video on the Real Academy, and I'm going to show you guys the level of collaboration and the level of agent and team leaders that are doing these classes. It will blow you away. I'm talking about people that are full-time coaches with some of the biggest coaching organizations in the country that hang their license with Real, that basically coach people for free in Real Academy. Okay. That's the level of collaboration you're getting. And it goes hand in hand with, I forgot to mention, when I joined, one of the biggest things was, you'll hear Kim at some point today talk about Real being production centric. Okay. Which means, like she said earlier, we don't want to just bring on agents that can fog a mirror. We want people that are going to be productive, so that when we start getting into the rev share and all that, you'll see that the income potential is much higher if you're bringing on producing agents versus just people selling 1 or 2 deals a year. Or there are some brokerages out there that are quote unquote flat fee, that are charging $2 or $3 or $4 or $500 a transaction. And they say, oh, you're going to get revenue share off of that. Well, let me tell you something. Revenue share on a $400 commission is a waste of your time. Whereas people, you see where I'm going. When you're production centric, it just, you're helping to grow this company, and you're actually, there's something about feeling like you're a part of an owner in the company at that point. Okay.
Well, it becomes a little bit of a movement, right? I mean, because you feel like, first of all, it resonates with you. You're like, gosh, I'm an agent who really wants to grow and build my business. Every brokerage says, come with us, we're agent centric. Well, here's the good news for you. If there's any brokerage who doesn't say I'm agent centric, you should run anyway, because the whole purpose of a brokerage is to be servicing the agent. But I think that we are more entrepreneurial centric, right? We are about, hey, let's come build your brand. Let's build. You have to be in compliance, of course, with your individual states. But the truth of the matter is, we're in business as a brokerage to serve the agents. The agents are in business to serve the public. When the agents serve the public, we want you to have your brand. We applaud your brand, and we highly encourage you to hold your own branding, right? Because we know that this business is relationship business. It's the same culture that we bring into the company, where we talk about, hey, this, as agents who hit this elite agent status, you are giving back to agents to help other agents get here. And by the way, let's just a small little bunny trail. if we're talking about revenue, right?
Yeah.
You can't have revenue if you don't close deals. But if you have more revenue, then we have a good possibility of having higher levels of profitability. If we have higher levels of profitability, we have a pretty good chance of Wall Street responding positively to our higher levels of profitability, which makes our stock go up. So now this becomes important, this becomes important, this becomes important, this becomes important, and this becomes important. Because now I care very much about what that stock price looks like, because the company, I've been partnering with them and the company's been giving me shares, right? I care now that that share means something monetarily. And we haven't even talked about all the other things yet. This is the core of our financial platform.
Yeah.
But the production is
Yeah.
the production is the important part. If you don't have that, you don't have revenue, you don't have profitability, your stock is in the tank, and who cares, right?
Right. And I'll finish with this before you get going on the next part of this, but you got to remember that some of the richest people in the world are people that started with companies and started buying stock and participating in their stock programs early. I mean, we all know people like that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s that started with IBM when it started.
Yeah, and General Electric, right?
Yeah, that just took a little piece of their paycheck every week or every time and put it into the stock, put it in, and these guys are multimillionaires now. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, continue.
Yeah, no, it's a good thought. Okay, so now you have received double your cap back. You have all of these shares sitting in your stock portfolio at Real. Here's a thing that you can't miss this part. And this part is all of it's happening in the background.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. You are literally focused on building and growing your business and being part of this collaborative network that allows you to learn from other agents. We use something called Work Vivo, where agents can get in there. It's like a Facebook product, and you can get in there and into the national company-wide page and say, hey, I'm thinking about looking for the best listing leads that has the highest conversion rate and is not going to break the bank. What do you guys know? And then you're going to get answers from agents all across the nation in all different market spaces. And you're going to be able to sift through that and go, gosh, well, maybe here in whatever state you're in, this is a good option for me to try, right? Like you're going to get that kind of like on the minute kind of feedback from agents. So it's not just you have to come to classes to learn. It's that we collaborate and help each other, because all of us have a vested interest in what happens with this REAX piece, right? So why would I hold back from telling other people, somebody in Louisiana and Oregon and California and Texas and Kentucky, hey, maybe I could help you be more productive, therefore the profitability, therefore my stock price goes up, therefore my future looks brighter, as does yours. It is
right.
It's insane.
And same thing with Real Academy, which is where all the classes and stored. You can go in there and search by subject, search by topic. You know, the other day I wanted to get some ideas for client events, and I went in and put client events in the search bar. There's 4 different mastermind groups led by people that use client events as their #1 source of business.
Their primary source. Yep.
All sharing these webinars with other people that are doing them and getting ideas. I mean, it's just amazing the amount of.
And you can do it at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep like the rest of us. You can get up and just watch it. It's all archived, so you can attend live, like we're having a live Zoom right now. You can attend those classes and interact that way. So you're actually getting to meet people and connect with them. But the other side of that is, gosh, if you can't be at that class because you're on a listing appointment or whatever, you can come back and spend your Saturday nights, you know, with a glass of wine and Real Academy. Like, why not?
Yeah, exactly. You can really nerd out.
Yeah, I know. Am I showing too much of who I am?
No, I'm right there with you, girl.
That's so cute. Okay, so we talked about you move to a $285 transaction fee until you hit elite agent status. When you hit elite agent status, now you go to a $129 fee until your anniversary. So the more you unlock, the more things that more benefits that you're opening up. So your passive income, just to recap before I flip my magic board, is you have the 5 for 10, the 10 for 20, the captain shares, elite agent, and cultural award. All of those things are working in the background. We have attraction shares, which we haven't talked about. We have revenue share, which we haven't talked about. We have real wallet, which we haven't talked about. Mortgage and title, which we haven't talked about. Okay, so that's what's to come. I'm going to do the magic flip and help you out. One thing I do want to tell you that Real has done is that we have the ability to designate a beneficiary. So let me just talk before I really get into revenue share about that. One of the reasons that, actually the reason we have revenue share is because we intentionally want to make sure our agents are financially secure. And not because we're just taking. We are working on giving. And so we set up revenue share so that our agents could have the potential of a retirement plan, right? There really is, in our industry, our exit plan is you just stop doing real estate and you're done. And you sell your lock boxes for pennies on the dollar, and you sell your open house frame. So I mean, that's your retirement, right? And so we're like, no, that's wrong. After a commitment and a lifetime of serving others, there should be some sort of benefit that works backwards to you. And so revenue share was birthed. So you can designate a beneficiary. So what happens for that is if you build a big revenue share network, which we'll talk about in a minute, if you build any, it doesn't have to be big, any income that you have coming from revenue share, you can designate a one-time beneficiary. So personally, I designate my trust, because my trust then will live on in perpetuity, and my family will receive every possible penny that I have earned and built for this company. And that's my benefit that I can give. So I name my trust, but you can name whomever as your beneficiary. So if something unfortunate happens to you and you pass away, then your family, who has been accustomed to this income that you're building, is not lacking. Your family still receives your revenue share. After 3 years, you're 60% vested. After 4, you're 80, and after 5, you're 100% vested. So this becomes a very important piece of your exit platform in leaving the company. If you don't die and you're still alive and you want to to stop working, you move your license to referral status, and then you, on that third year, fourth year, fifth year, so 60, 80, and 100%, you can receive your revenue share in that capacity. So you have the ability to contribute it to a beneficiary, and you have the ability to actually retire, still be alive, and still grow and receive your revenue share. Here's the trick that differentiates us from every other company that does this in the real estate space, to my knowledge. And that is, when you move to retirement status, in other companies, your revenue share line is frozen. You can't grow it anymore. So basically, they're just waiting for it to dwindle away, everybody else to die off, and then that's great. Real says that's ridiculous. We are a living, breathing organism. And so your revenue share network that you build, even after you retire and are receiving it, you can continue to do attraction and build your network, as can all the people in your network can continue to build, and you continue to receive the benefits thereof. So I think that's unbelievable. It's remarkable. And I think it becomes really meaningful. A few things that I want you to remember about your revenue share is it is an asset for you, as is your shares, your actual stock portfolio. These are two real assets, but they're real as the company assets, right? That's going to matter when we talk about Real Wallet in just a minute. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what attraction looks like. When I'm going to use you, Bob, as an example. So if I sponsor Bob and I bring Bob into the company, and Bob closes his first qualifying transaction, which is a $2,500 GCI, then from there, Real grants me attraction shares. I think right now it's 75 shares. I get granted 75 shares. In 3 years, if Bob and I are both still at the company and we're good standing, those go from being granted to being issued. I get the growth over those 3 years. We're all assuming that we're going to continue to grow over 3 years. But here's the thing, even if we go backwards, I haven't lost anything because they were free, right? So everybody who gets in a knot over like, well, the stock market goes up and down. Yeah, it does, but it's free. So you have to lose a lot before you're lost, right? You're still winning. So, and that's not where I think we're going. So we do that, and I get granted attraction shares. Those go right into my app. I can see them. It'll say attraction shares for November of 2024. And I will know that, okay, that's my friend Bob. In 3 years, they'll say, hey, you have X number of shares vesting in, 30 days. And then they get vested. Then I can cash them in. I can save them. I can do what I want to with them. So that's the attraction share piece of it. Then there's the revenue share. The revenue share says, listen, we are a company who believes in relationships. So when I talk to you about we are a wealth building platform based on collaboration, right? So now it starts to matter a little bit more, even more maybe than how the elite agents are contributing, right? Because that's one to many. This becomes very personal. This is one-to-one. We do not allow spamming. You can't, broadcast text messages. You can't do that with email. No robocalling. In fact, if you do those things and we know about that, then we are happily giving you back your license, because that's not in our culture. Other companies can do that. That's fine by us. Like, they can do what they want to, but we want to preserve the relationship quality of our collaborative platform. And so you have one-on-one relationships with people. When you bring them to the company, and by the way, I just kind of think that once you go through this and you start living this out, you can't help but be enthusiastic about it. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm never going to recruit or attract. Good for you. We don't have any requirements. We don't have a quota you have to meet. But I would challenge you to say that, careful what you say, because when you get here and you realize how amazing everything is, you can't help but be somewhat evangelistic about it, right?
Well, that's why I'm doing this Zoom today. I'm not a woo-woo rah-rah guy. Okay.
Really?
No, yeah.
The whole world is shocked by that statement.
I'm about as boring as they come. But
not true.
This is exciting. I mean, this is what got my attention and part of, helping to build the company kind of thing. So I think it's huge. And I go back to, and I know you're going to use the example of, I think you said 2,500. You guys have to remember that the average transaction size is 450,000 in Phoenix, and the average commit. I know we're not supposed to talk about average commissions and all that, but your average commission out there is about 10 grand right now. Okay. Right. So really 10 grand's a good number to keep in the back of your mind while we're going through this stuff.
And we're not asking you to do anything magic, right? Close the deal, serve your clients, close the deal. That's all you got to do, right? All right. So what's cool about this is we have 5 tiers deep by 25 agents wide. And then we have co-sponsorship, and I'll talk a little bit about that separate. But here's how this goes. So from agent number 1 to 4, that's tier 1. When you get to agent number 5, you've unlocked tier 2. When you get to agent number 15, you've unlocked tier 3. Agent 20, you've unlocked tier 4, and agent 25 and beyond, you've unlocked tier 5. What that means to you is in our tiers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, remember that 15% that you were paying toward the company for your fees? If you think of that in 3 sets of 5, like 5%, 5%, and 5%, 2 5% go to the company to run the company. One of those 5% goes to revenue share to pay our agents. We're not likely to do Super Bowl ads. We don't have like billboards. It's not taking out radio and TV. That's not how we're going to promote this company. We're going to promote this company by real live relationships, because that's how we actually build a culture of people who work hard and are kind and contribute to one another, so that we have higher levels of revenue, higher levels of profitability, and higher levels of stock. So do you see how this relationship model is just baked in? So that's what this looks like. So we say, okay, if tier 5, you get 5%. Here, let me just tell you what this is. Up to $4,000 a year for a $12,000 capper, $3,200 for a $12,000 capper. Tier 3 is $2,400. Tier 4 is $1,600, and tier 5 is up to $800 a year that you're earning in revenue share from people that come to your network. So you need to think of revenue share as linear. All you care about is building 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 25 and beyond, right? Because that then opens up all the tiers. The good news in this is you can earn up to $4,000. So the idea is that if you're gonna do this, you wanna get to 5 because that opens up tier 2, okay? So if I have 5 people in my tier 1 and they all cap, that's 5 times $4,000. I just gave myself the equivalent, using Bob's math, of closing 2 transactions without having to sling the deal, right? Annually, I can earn $20,000 just by 5 people coming and capping. So what does capping mean in our state? Capping means in our state, between 5 and 6 transactions.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If your price point's really low, maybe you're between 6 and 8, somewhere there. But it's not like we're asking you to do monumental numbers of transactions. That it's pretty decent and it's pretty doable. Here's the philosophy that I have about it. If I have 5 people in my tier 1, and I teach all 5 of them to do what I just did, because I want all of them to have $20,000 extra every year. So if I have 5 people that I'm teaching to bring 5 people, and I realize that for me, there would be in my second tier, that is $3,200 maximum a year. That brings me up to another $80,000 of annual income just by bringing 5 and teaching those 5 to bring 5. So that doesn't sound that insurmountable, because I bet you if I asked you right now, in the last 20 transactions, did you have any agents that you actually really liked and you thought were really good humans? Have you worked in the current company you're with some agents where you're like, gosh, I really like those guys? Do you know other people from CE classes that you've met and you're like, gosh, we're at different brokerages, but I really dig that person? That's all this is. And when you realize how impactful, $100,000 extra, you're not slinging the deal, you're loving on these people. I always say it really just pays me to be friends with people I'm already friends with. I'm friends with Bob, right? And so Bob's my friend. I'm getting paid to love on Bob, but I was loving on Bob before Real got involved, right? Like that's the relationship factor. So you look at this, and here's the interesting thing, right? This is $100,000 of passive, quasi-passive, because you're still caring for your people, but you're not slinging the deals. You're not doing the transaction coordinating. You're not opening up the lock boxes. You're doing none of that. You're supporting the people that you're in relationship with. And here's $100,000 extra. Most realtors aren't making $100,000.
Right.
So I want to double challenge, right? Let's get you to this place that you're making at least $100,000 in real estate. And then in that same process, let's double your money by helping you bring people into this organization that supports them and gives them a financial future. Remember, I talked about this being an asset. Here's what's really important. I'm going to skip really fast and just go to Real Wallet for a second. Real just is launching right now, and in Q1, a Real Wallet, and it's a debit card and a credit card. Let me explain. The debit card says, listen, you have filled out all of your documentation for your file. Your file is complete. You have everything uploaded, and you are ready to go to the closing table. You go to the closing table, everybody signs, the deal is sealed. We have closed escrow. You have been given your closing paperwork, right? Your final statements. You come back to your happy little office, or you do it from your phone, and you scan that in and you upload it. And as soon as you upload it, if your file is correct, we will now be able to pay you instantly. You don't have to wait for a wire. You don't have to wait for an ACH. You're not picking up a check. Nobody's couriering a check to you, right? It's instant. And how that works is we have gone through the painstaking process of becoming a financial institution. And because we are that, now we have the ability to say, hey, based on that closing documentation, I know that your commission is this much money. And we've already done your disbursement in the transaction. So bam, bam, shablam, every agent's gonna get their own account. And so you're going to be able to receive your instant payment, like instant, as soon as it's processed, right? So the cool part about that is Real says, interesting, we want to be able to do that for our agents. If our agents want to continue and leave that money there and use their debit card for gas and groceries and clothes and entertainment, whatever else you use your money for, your little happy debit card, if you continue to do that, there will be some benefits from Real. You will earn points. Points will then be able to defray some of your costs on the other side of this board that we talked about, your fees. some of your fees will go away. There's the possibility that the more you use your debit card, the more that they will open up a next layer of revenue share for you. This is unbelievable. If you don't like that and you go, oh my gosh, I don't want my company having my money, terrific. You're going to get paid here, sweep it out, send it to First Interstate, Chase, Wells Fargo, Credit Union, whatever. We don't care.
First Interstate, you're showing your age.
No, I drove down Scottsdale Road. There's a First Interstate on
Oh my
Scottsdale
God.
Road.
I
It's
thought
still
they went
relevant.
away. I thought
I'm not that old, and shame on you. Again, I started this with an insult. I'm in the middle. Look at you.
I'm good at that. I'm good at insulting. That's for sure.
Oh, I love
that's great. That is so cool. So yeah, what you're saying is, you get your commission right then, and then you can just take it and set it up and wire it into your regular bank account or whatever.
Yeah.
But the key is you're getting paid like that. So
and check this out, because we love you so much. But wait, there's more kind of thing.
yeah.
Our next iteration of this is that you will be able to elect to have a tax account. And the tax account will say, hey, we're going to take 21% of every check that you received, and we're going to put it over here in this account for you, so that when tax time comes, you can actually pay your taxes like a very good realtor should do, right?
Yeah.
And you won't feel the stress of that. So we're helping you with this financial plan. We're supporting you. You don't have to do that, but if you want to, and you want to stay in a happy place where you're not afraid of the IRS, or you're not terrified of April, right? Then let's put you in an account where you can separate it out that way. Automatically, you can sign up for that. That hasn't happened yet, but that's coming. So that part's super cool. Then there's this magic called the Real Credit Card. The Real Credit Card is pretty stinking unbelievable. So let's just talk through this. If you are, first of all, it is designed so that we can support our agents. Instead of I make a bunch of money, I'm in the valley, I'm poor, I can't do anything. I make a bunch of money and I'm poor. We all know what this looks like, right? Not interested in that. We're looking at leveling this out for agents so that you don't live in this feast or famine mentality, that you can actually start to run your business like a business. Remember I said we're entrepreneurial centric? This is more business minded, right? And so now we have this ability. You have a whole bunch of, let's say you have a good network that you've built. So you have a regular revenue share income. You have earned a lead agent status. And so you have this other asset that is your stock portfolio. We know what your production typically is. We're going to say that Bob generally closes $30,000 a month in GCI. So now we can look at you and run you through our own internal happy algorithm and say, gosh, Bob is credit worthy inside our industry, inside our company, for let's just say $50,000 of a line of credit. Bob can say, gosh, I have 8 things in escrow, but I need to pay my bills, and not one of these guys is closing on time. Like, that's real life for real estate people. And I don't have any cash flow. I can go to my real wallet and I can say, of the $50,000 that Bob has, Bob can say, gosh, I only need 15 grand. And then I'll have all these transactions at close. That's great. So he can go in, he can click, hey, I want to borrow $15,000. I'm going to sign all the regulatory documents. And then bam, bam, shablam, once you hit okay, and then it says approved, it takes that $15,000 out of your credit line and dumps it into your debit card or into your real bank account. You have it instantly. Those deals close, you can pay that back. Now, we're not done. There's an APR, right? It's 10% APR. But check this out. Hard money lending is between 10 and 15% right now. So let's just say it's not a cash flow issue in terms of Bob can pay his bills. It is, there is an opportunity that comes along, and gosh, if he could pick this house up and have like, $30,000 to dump in on renovations, then I can, and holding costs, then I can put it back on the market. Guess what? You can get that same out of that 50 grand we had going. You can take all 50 if you want, but you can take 30 of it now and say, hey, I'm going to use that for this project. 10% APR. You sell the property, you put the money back, you're good to go. So you can start to see how Real says, listen, we want our agents to feel more secure in their income, right? And to feel like they don't have to miss out on opportunities that come their way just because you don't have cash flow, right? So let's figure this out. So both of those things are wide open and available. Credit is not open in US yet. It's ironic. Credit is open in Canada and debit is not. Debit is open in America and credit is not. So first quarter, I think all of that gets resolved company-wide. And then once all of that is launched nationally and through Canada, then we can start doing program enhancements where we'll see some of these other benefits come in. So
Well,
you
the other, not to cut you off, Kim, but another thing I thought of is a lot of real estate agents don't have a lot of cash laying around, obviously.
Right.
And let's say you've got a big deal that's closing in 30 or 45 days. It's closing, it's a done deal, and a family emergency happens, okay? Or you've got a wedding to pay for, like I had to do a year ago last October, or your kid's tuition bill is due this semester, and you need 5 or 10 grand to float you for 30 days. I mean, it's just, it's huge. It's huge.
It's a big deal. And I think, here's the good news. Real doesn't actually care what you're doing with the money. We're not asking you what your purpose is. We're not vetting that. Here's the really cool thing I think about it is that if you went outside of your own company to a regular lender, for a personal loan, they don't understand our business. And if they do understand our business on some level, you're getting grouped in with what everybody looks like. That's versus what Real can go in and personally underwrite you, because they go, Bob's asset of stock, his asset of revenue share, we know what his earnings typically are over the last rolling 12 months or 6 months or 3 months or whatever they use. We can be really individualized and say, okay, Bob's credit worthy, his credit score at Real is worth, $50,000 as a line of credit. And so because it's personal, right, and you're not grouped into this global, like, oh, all real estate agents are like this, so we're never going to give them any money, right? Like it's and you don't have to pay these exorbitant fees, right? Like it's competitive for sure. We're on the lowest end of most hard money lending.
I was just going to say, I think my business Costco card that I use, I always pay mine every month, but I think it's 20% interest as well.
Well, yeah, most credit cards are between 25 and 30% APR. That gets unbelievably expensive.
Yeah, and this is 10%. That's cool.
So it's pretty good money.
Cool.
All right. So I've kind of covered revenue share. I will tell you that there are 2 fees that are attached to revenue share. A lot of people give us a lot of grief as companies who have revenue share. Oh, it's not sustainable. You're just giving away all the company's money. Okay, yeah, sure. Except remember that crazy little thing I said about production. So that offsets that. But in addition to that, we have a 1.2% processing fee that everybody who participates in revenue share pays. So right off the top, the company will take that 1.2%. That goes back into the coffers of paying, because remember, it's 5% here, but it's 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we're bringing those monies back in. It's a privilege for us to earn revenue share. So I have no problem paying my 1.2% processing fee. And there's an annual participation fee of $175, right? That's one time every year. That just says, hey, we're going to keep track of you and keep you in the revenue share world so that we can make sure we're calculating things appropriately. So that's it for fee structure. And the rest is just how much you want to build. And here's the good news. There's something called co-sponsorship. So let's pretend that I know somebody in Ohio, and they reach out to me and they say, Kim, oh my gosh, we really want to come to Real. I love everything that you're talking about, everything that they're providing, and we want you to be our sponsor. And I would say, gosh, thank you so much. That's super flattering. I appreciate that and humbling. But where are you in your business? If they're fairly new, I'm going to reach out to somebody else in Ohio who's an agent with Real. And I'm going to say, Bob, we're going to pretend you move to Ohio. I'm going to say, Bob, hey, listen, my friend Jenny is wanting to move to Real, but I can't actually help her with contract stuff and neighborhood stuff and systems that are specific to Ohio. Would you be interested in co-sponsoring Jenny with me? And Bob emphatically says, absolutely, because I'm part of this collaborative network where we like to help each other and there's benefits for me. Perfect. So now Bob and I each, when Jenny joins the company, she can name 2 sponsors. And she's going to name Kimberly Ryan and she's going to name Bob Hertzog. And what's going to happen with the revenue share is we each get a half of position. The company's not in the place to just give away money for fun. We don't get whole people. We got half a person. So we have a half a position, in our tier 1. So I have half of Jenny, he has half of Jenny. And then for how we earn, 45% gets paid to me of every transaction she closes before capping, and 45% of that 5% revenue share gets paid to Bob. 10% of it goes back to the company. That helps sustain it. Okay. So we can now Bob and I, maybe Bob and I aren't even in the same network. We're probably not. He's in Ohio, right? But I know him because we have this collaborative network where I have friends all across the nation. And I can say, hey, Bob, I trust you to help me take care of Jenny. Are you up for it? Guess what? Jenny wins. She has 2 people that are in the organization that she can reach out to and go, hey, I need help with this. Can you help me with this? Or can you help me with that? So the agent wins, we win, the company wins. Do you see how this collaboration is baked into this whole process? So that's pretty exciting.
Really cool.
The last 2 things that I'm going to share with you are around our internal affiliates. We own a title company and we own a mortgage company. We don't own them for the sake of it's great for us. We own them for the sake of it's great for us, all of the agents in the company. So as buyer's agents, and frankly, as listing agents for that matter, there's a lot of times that we're influencing who our clients are using for title and who our clients are using for mortgage. These guys don't do this every day. We do this every day. So we have a network of people that we can promote. So if we start sending all of our business to Real Title, we can have a joint venture with Real Title and quarterly receive revenue share from all of the business that we've been sending to Real Title. So I get a piece of that back. If I will go as far as to get my loan originator's license, we are not asking our agents to be loan officers. In fact, we don't want you to do that. We have our loan officers. But if you can get your loan originator's license, then we can hire you as a W-2 at Real Mortgage. This is how we stay RESPA compliant. We hire you as W-2 employee at Real Mortgage. You send us your buyers. Now we can legally pay you a referral fee. Guess what we do? We give you 50 basis points of the loan amount. So we talked earlier about kind of commissions and what we're looking at, but let me just say this. If you have a $400,000 loan amount and your buyer closes with Real Mortgage and you have an LO license and you're hired by Real, then you receive an extra paycheck of $2,000. You get your real estate commission over here. Back here, you're going to get your Real Title every quarter paid on that deal. And then you're going to get your paycheck from being an employee at Real Mortgage. And then you're going to do that 5 for 10 or 10 for 20, and you're going to get paid there. And it's going to lead you to capping, or it's going to lead you to elite. Do you start seeing how this turns out to be pretty freaking amazing?
And guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm already looking into Arizona School of Real Estate and Business. Okay, to get my LO license. You can get it done in a month or 2 weeks, just like the real estate license. It is. I talk to people. It is not that hard to get.
It's not.
And if you are doing 12 transactions a year, that's another 24 grand a year in income that you're
doing nothing. For doing
nothing.
Exactly what you're already doing.
And I believe that also, tell me if I'm wrong here. I believe if they decide to refinance, you're in on that. Well, their client for life. So they go to refinance in 3 years and they refinance it and
a random paycheck.
Yep, there comes another 2 grand. So anyway, that is killer. And that's, guys, that's where it's going now. Okay, we're getting away from the deals where they're paying, lenders are helping to pay for advertising and everything. RESPA's cracking down. They just nailed someone here in Phoenix for it. And this is the only way to do this and really stay compliant. Okay,
Yep.
Is to get your own license. And this is kind of the wave of the future. If you're looking to make money outside of your regular real estate commissions, you need to get creative and do things like this. So,
well, in an era where we have seen commission compression,
yep,
right?
absolutely.
Like no longer are we always
100%.
guaranteed an X percentage, right? So now things have changed a little bit just in the industry because of the economy. And then things have changed a little bit because of what's happening with NAR and how buyers agents are having to formulate a different level of professionalism and be able to position themselves as valuable, right, for earning whatever their compensation is. But in the era of what that looks like, here's just another line. You're already referring them to your favorite lender at wherever, right? I mean, I can name 1,000 lenders, right? You're already helping them get directed to your title people because they don't know this stuff. Let's be really honest. Your buyers and sellers, unless they have someone who's in the business, they don't have someone because they buy a house once every 7 years on the average, right? And now that's extended to about 10 years. So this is not like they have these people in their pocket. You do. And when you are providing this level of service to them and you are encouraging them along the way and directing them, there's no reason why you shouldn't be paid for those services. That's your level of expertise. And frankly, if I'm a buyer's agent, that's one more level of how I can demonstrate that I have value to them, is that I have this great team of people who can work together. And yeah, I'm getting paid for what I do. There's no shame in it. I can have you sign a happy little disclosure. If I sent you to title company ABC, I don't have to show a disclosure, but I'm also not getting paid for that. And I don't have any influence in that because I don't have any relationship. Don't you think that if you had lending, title, and real estate all connected, that they're pouring into essentially the same pot, right? Don't you think there's another level of expertise and professionalism and security and let's get the deal done because we all win or we all lose? That's how that works. And so that level of accountability for our agents and our participants in this is higher, which I think translates to a higher, better customer and client experience.
And it makes the company more profitable, right? And that's what I'm saying is when you get into a system like this, guys, where you're like an owner in the company, all of a sudden you start thinking about things differently, okay? You don't just think about that $200 a deal or $300 a deal that you have to pay your broker. With all these things that Kim just showed you, you can actually make more money than quite a bit more money than the fees you're paying the brokerage.
Absolutely.
And none of this is, and Kim made this very clear earlier, none of this is required to be here. Okay. These are just opportunities. These are like, I call it just bonus that she said just kind of goes on in the background and you can go after each of these as much as you want. Like I'm not a huge, for those of you that know me know that, I mean, I've owned my own brokerage for several years and my least favorite part of owning a brokerage was recruiting because it's the hardest thing in the world to do. And unless you know what you're doing, number one, it's kind of outside of how I like to do business. I'm more of an attract person than a hunter and gatherer. I don't like to go hunt for my business. I like to do things that attract people to me, which is why I was attracted to Real, to be honest with you. I looked at several options over the years of people that had a similar model to Real. And I'm not going to go into who that is. You can probably guess without me saying anything. But there were two things that really turned me off. Number one was the hard recruiting pitch that I got for it. And immediately going to revenue share and pyramid scheme. And those were the kind of things that came to my mind. But more importantly, I'll be honest with you, a lot of the companies that really push the hardest, that it sounds really good on paper and you look at it and you're like, wow, this looks really cool. I go deeper. I've been in this market so long that I know a lot of agents. I've done a lot of cross deals with a lot of different agents out there. I start looking at, okay, before I join this brokerage, who works there? I want to know like the quality of the people there. And in a lot of cases, I've looked at brokerages and said, gosh, they sure have a lot of people that were a-holes to me when I did cross sales with them. And that sounds terrible, but we've all had that, right? And there's brokerages that have really recruited me hard and other people, I'm sure. And I start looking at who works there and I'm like, that guy was such a jerk when I dealt with him. I mean, if he's attracted to that culture, that's not for me. That wasn't the case with Real. I mean, I started looking at the big names, the heavy hitters at Real, and I'm like, these are actually really good agents. And that's what it attracts. They're just people that like to collaborate, like to share, and like to attract rather than go get it. I can't think of a good way to say it other than that. You know, like attracts alike. Iron sharpens iron type of thing. So anyway, this is cool. This is so informative.
Yeah, you say a lot of really good things in that final statement, honestly. And it is, I think every brokerage on some level can service an agent's business, right? Like that's a mandate from our Department of Real Estate. It's a mandate from NAR, whomever, governing bodies, statutes, and et cetera. But it's, to me, that doesn't have any wow factor for how I'm producing and growing in professional development and in personal development and what I can contribute. And I think that's been probably the most fun for me, honestly, is those people that you talked about that are at Real. I've been really privileged and honored to be in relationship with some of those people for 20 years. And honestly, I received phone calls from people going, oh my gosh, what is it you're doing? I could explain what I'm doing. And then literally they're like, well, can I do it too? Because if you vetted it, I don't really need to vet it. And I was like, well, you should vet it. It's your business. I appreciate the trust. But honestly, for Arizona, and I think this is true across the nation for us, is the company has been built on relationships. And, I think every company, every culture, every community has an element of people who, one of these things is not like the other. And that's, I think you have humanity involved. And so therefore here we are. But I think the vast majority of people have that heart for the company because they have that heart for each other and ultimately the heart for their clients. And those are the people who rise to the top in this industry. It just is true. The people who don't care, you can tell that they don't care. The people who care, you can see the evidence. There's fruit in their lives. And so, I'm honored that you would have me come chat and play today because, this is my happy space. And I'm super, I'm honestly, Bob, I'm super thrilled to be in business with you. I think it's so much fun to find other people who are like-minded and say, yeah, we can do more. The limit is as far as we can see it, right? We just keep going.
Exactly. I always like to say that real estate is a very small world. Okay. And social media has made it even smaller. That sounds weird when I say that, but what I mean by that is social media allows you to get to know a lot of people on a personal level that you wouldn't otherwise, right? And in real estate especially. And one thing I wanted to share with this group here that Kim, you were one of you were the main reason I came over, but obviously I started digging in and it made a lot of sense. But what I've watched, I think you and I were friends on Facebook for at least 2 or 3 years before I even picked up the phone and called you. And when I called you, you were kind of like, I was waiting for you to call me at some point type of thing. And at that point, we'd never really engaged one-to-one level. But you know how Facebook is, social media, you creep on people and you kind of see who they're talking, they're friends with your friends. So you see those conversations. And the one thing I will say that impressed me the most about you is over the years, you're one of the few people that is so well connected with so many agents, high performing agents, all agents. And I've actually seen, sitting outside looking in, where you have relationships with agents at other brokerages. And when those agents move to a different brokerage and it's not Real, you go out of your way to congratulate them and wish them luck wherever they've moved to, even though they didn't come to Real. And that right there shows me the character that you have as a person. And Real should be very lucky, feel very lucky to have you because there aren't many people like you in this industry. I can tell you that right now. So,
well, thank you. I'll tell you, thank you. I should just stop there, but I won't. I'll tell you that something that's really been important to me for a good portion of my real estate career, kind of once I got my feet under me, was how weird it was that agents wouldn't help agents. I've never been in an environment like that before in my other careers. And it was so weird. I couldn't understand. And I kind of gave myself this mission that if we can do something to help somebody else, we have the ability to elevate the industry. If we can elevate the industry, then everybody wins. And I don't care. Like if other agents go to other brokerages, you know, they felt like I trust them to make a business decision that they believe is right for them. I really see it as my personal failing, because what it means to me is I wasn't able to articulate the value so that they could actually see how I really believe that Real is the very best opportunity. I would not be hanging my license at Real if I didn't think it was the best one. And here's the other piece. Real's my last brokerage. I have no problem saying that on a recording. I would not be building what I'm building if it was going to be a fly-by-night thing for me. If I've gone to all of this work to build this company in this state and contribute in other states, I wouldn't be doing that for a temporary win. I'm a long game girl, and I look at this and go, gosh, I'm asking people to disrupt their businesses. I know it is. When you move brokerages, it's a disruption. I know it is. But here's what I will tell you. The ROI is exponential because of all of the community that you're getting, all of the benefits that we've talked about, the financial things. But more important to that, you get a mindset shift that is literally impacting the trajectory. So take the hard hit now and go for it. And I am happy for people who go. I've been turned down by some of the best people in the business. I got no shame in that. I'm like, okay, if not now, when? And I really believe that. Okay, it's not now, but I believe we'll be back. And when you said, you know, I was basically waiting for your call. Yeah, because I believe in your ability to make a really good business decision. And I believe that if you would listen and hear and learn, that you would see it. And so that's just a matter of time. And so I think, you know, I don't chase people. I'm not a stalker. I'm terrible at that. I'd actually be a miserable failure if I had to rely on that, because I just won't do it. I hate it so much. But more that I can just be in relationship with people. I can love on people and I can help them. That to me feeds my soul. And by the way, it just turns out to have all these other benefits. And I think when we can collaborate with people like that, with that mentality, that's how we change the world. That's how we change the industry. So I'm super privileged and honored to do it.
100%. All right, cool. Well, I think you've hit all of the steps that you wanted to hit, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, gosh, I mean, even though I've seen this presentation like 3 or 4 times, every time I learn something new out of it. So I'm so glad that we did this. And again, like if you're one of my friends or people in the industry that still have more questions, obviously call me, but I'll make sure, you know, that I can get, if you want to talk to Kim some more about it, maybe there's something we didn't cover in this presentation. I'll tell you what, once you're in Kim's network, when you call or text her, you're getting a call back within minutes. Okay. And that really is a nice thing with being connected with her. So
well, and you have my Calendly link. So I mean, when somebody calls you and reaches out to you and wants to talk, just load it, go for it, and we'll connect. And totally happy. Like to me, I mean, I told you, this is my 4th time in 24 hours doing this presentation. So yeah, I'm down for it.
All right, Kim. Well, I appreciate you again for taking the time, and obviously all of you out there that are getting this in your email or whatever. If you got any questions, call myself or Kim, and we'd love to answer any questions you have.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Thanks for hanging with me.
Thank you, Kim. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.